Here's a question for you. What's worse, being told you're not good enough or watching the person who replaced you flop? Because for these three players, that's exactly what happened, and it is delicious to watch. And in this story, we've got three players who went from being cast aside to running the show at some of the biggest clubs in Europe. You know their names, but you might not know just how badly their old teams messed up. Cole Palmer, Jamal Musiala, and Martin Ødegaard. Let's get into it. You know how some players just have that look? Not the flashy haircuts or the Instagram drip. I'm talking about the way they play, like they already know they belong on the biggest stage. That was Cole Palmer, even when he was 6 years old. Cole Palmer grew up in Manchester, dreaming of football, but not necessarily in sky blue. In fact, he supported the red side. Still, when City scouts spotted him as a little kid tearing it up at NJ Wythenshawe, he didn't hesitate. He joined their academy, and from day one, it was obvious. The kid had swagger without even trying. Goals came naturally, and he played like he already knew he belonged on a bigger stage. Fast forward, Palmer finally makes it to Pep Guardiola's squad. Now most young players would cling to that spot like their life depended on it. Being under Pep is supposed to be the dream, but here's the reality. Pep's City is stacked. Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. The midfield and attacking spots are like Fort Knox. Palmer got minutes here and there, but you could tell he wasn't really trusted to run the show. He was the kid who'll get a chance someday. Only Palmer wasn't interested in waiting for someday. At just 21 years old, he makes one of the boldest decisions in recent Premier League history. He leaves, walks away from Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. And where does he go? Chelsea, a club in transition, a squad that had been struggling, a move people were calling risky. Some even said, why leave City for that mess? But here's the thing. Cole Palmer didn't just move to Chelsea, he took over Chelsea. That first season, he didn't just impress, he dominated. More goal contributions than anyone else in the Premier League. That's right, not Salah, not Haaland, Palmer, 33 in total. And he didn't just rack up numbers against small teams, he delivered in big moments when Chelsea needed him most. By the end of the season, he became the first Chelsea player since Eden Hazard in 2014 to win the PFA Young Player of the Year. And between you and me, he was this close to winning the main award too. But if you want to know the moment Palmer truly cemented himself as that guy, you have to look at the Club World Cup final. Chelsea up against PSG, and not just any PSG. This was a super team in full beast mode. They had crushed Real Madrid 4-0, humiliated Inter Milan 5-0 in the Champions League final. Everyone was asking the same question, not will Chelsea lose, but by how many goals? 4, 5, more. Everyone expected Chelsea to get steamrolled. Instead, Palmer froze them in their tracks, scored the first, scored the second, then set up the third. Final score? Chelsea 3, PSG 0. From a kid ignored at City to the man who dismantled PSG on the world stage. You think Pep Guardiola saw that scoreline and thought, maybe, just maybe, we let the wrong one go? Now you're probably thinking, maybe Chelsea is just the magic rehab centre for every player big clubs don't trust. Well, not quite, because this time, it wasn't Chelsea doing the rescuing. It was Chelsea making the mistake. See, years before they were paying big money to bring in talent, Chelsea already had a gem in their own backyard. A quiet, polite kid who would turn into an absolute nightmare once the ball touched his feet. That kid was Jamal Musiala. He joined Chelsea's academy at the age of 8, and right away, you could tell he was special. The way he glided past defenders, the way he could shift his body without losing control of the ball. It wasn't normal for his age. He wasn't just quicker than other kids, he was smarter. He saw passes 2 steps ahead, made decisions before defenders even realized what was happening. But here's the thing. In football, talent doesn't always guarantee you'll stay. In 2019, when Musiala was just 16, Bayern Munich came calling. And Chelsea, they couldn't keep him. Partly because of the pull of Bayern, partly because his family wanted him back in Germany, and partly because Chelsea's first team looked like an impossible wall to climb at that time. Big names blocking his path and no clear route to minutes. So Musiala left, quietly. No drama. Just one day, he was gone, swapping Cobham's pitches for Bayern's training ground. And here's where the story turns. Within a year, he wasn't just in Bayern's youth setup, he was breaking into the first team. He made his Bundesliga debut at 17, scored in the Champions League at 17. By 18, he was starting games alongside Lewandowski and Müller. The kid who couldn't see a clear path at Chelsea was now shining on one of the biggest stages in Europe. And then came the international choice, England or Germany. Chelsea fans were already hurting from losing him, and when he picked Germany, that pain doubled. You could feel it. Today, Musiala is one of Bayern's most important players and one of the most dangerous attacking midfielders in Europe. The way he dribbles, it's almost unfair. Low center of gravity, tight control, quick feet. He doesn't just beat defenders, he embarrasses them. He's already got Bundesliga titles, a Champions League medal, and he's still only in his early 20s. And the real sting for Chelsea, while they've been crying out for creativity and composure in midfield, their former academy star has been delivering exactly that in Munich. Every silky run, every goal, every assist, it's a reminder of the one that got away. From a kid in Chelsea blue to Bayern's golden boy, Jamal Musiala is living proof that sometimes the worst mistake a club can make is losing the player they already had. But this last one? This one's different, because Martin Ødegaard wasn't just a promising talent, he was the promising talent. Back in 2015, the hype around him was ridiculous. We're talking next Messi levels of pressure. He was 16 years old, and every big club in Europe wanted him. Bayern, Liverpool, Barcelona. But when Real Madrid comes knocking, what teenager says no? Ødegaard didn't. One moment he's a kid at Strømsgodset in Norway, the next he's standing next to Cristiano Ronaldo in training. It was a fairy tale move, on paper. In reality, it was like being handed the keys to a sports car you weren't allowed to drive. Real Madrid's squad was stacked with Galacticos: Modric, Kroos, Isco. For a 16-year-old, breaking through wasn't just hard, it was impossible. So began the loan carousel. First the Dutch league with Heerenveen, then Vitesse. He impressed, but still, no Real Madrid breakthrough. Finally, a loan to Real Sociedad, where things started clicking. He wasn't just showing potential anymore, he was controlling games, dictating the tempo. But even after that, when he returned to Madrid, the trust still wasn't there. He'd get a few appearances, then disappear from the lineup for weeks. And that's when Arsenal came in. Mikel Arteta saw something. Not just the technical skill, but the intelligence, the calm, the vision. At first, it was just a loan in 2021. But Ødegaard fit Arsenal like he'd been there his whole life. That summer they made it permanent. And here's where the transformation happened. At Real Madrid, he was the young kid waiting for permission to shine. At Arsenal, he was the guy, the one everyone looked to for the pass that broke the lines for the moment of magic when the game felt stuck. His leadership came naturally, not loud or flashy, but constant, steady and demanding. By 2022, Arteta made it official. Martin Ødegaard, Arsenal captain. And under his captaincy, the club changed. Arsenal went from drifting outside the Champions League spots to challenging Manchester City for the title. He didn't just raise his own game, he raised the standard of the entire squad. Real Madrid's loss had become Arsenal's brain, heartbeat and creative engine. And when you watch him now, threading impossible passes, pressing like his life depends on it, scoring clutch goals, you realise just how badly Madrid misjudged him. Maybe at 16 he wasn't ready for the Bernabeu spotlight, but now he's exactly the kind of player they'd spend 80 million on to get back. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these three stories was your favourite, and who do you think is the biggest regret for their old club? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'm going to be reading them all. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button so more football fans see it. Subscribe if you love stories like this and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Oh, and if you want even more crazy football stories, check out the video popping up right here. Trust me, you'll love it.